All right, good morning. Good morning. I've got a couple of people I want to introduce to you all. This is Macy Cargile, and this is Zach Brooks sitting in the back. This is my staff at the county. I couldn't do without them. That's why they're here, because they don't let me touch anything electronic. And so we're going to just kind of go through briefly some scenes from the World Games. I'll take a couple of questions at the end. Sorry I have to go early, but I have to be on a conference call at 8 o'clock with the Birmingham Organizing Committee for World Games. All right. So, World Games 2022, Birmingham, USA. World Games has been around since 1981. The first World Games was held in Santa Barbara, California, here in the United States. It has traveled around the world. It's held every 4 years, and it comes always after the Summer Olympics. We have it the next year after the Summer Olympics. The World Games will follow that. Unless there's a pandemic. Well, no, the Summer Games got moved. So then we moved. So we have we've we had an extra year to get ready for World Games here, and overall it was a success. People really enjoyed it. Were there any of you all that were able to make it to any of the events? Okay. All right. Band, you didn't go? Oh, man. I figured you'd be at the sumo wrestling. You know? Well, they were looking for sparring partners at one time, so I volunteered a few people for that. All right. This is you have the opening and closing ceremonies of the World Games, and this is the procession of the athletes coming in and seat, just like you see on the Olympics. And go ahead. And this is the crowd after the athletes are seated down here, and so it was a good opening night on July the 7th, 2022. This is some of the things that was at the opening ceremony, and I think this was one of the most things that stood out with me is, as you'll see here in the middle picture, these are drones. They're over the stadium, and they do all this drone art, and I wish I could have gotten a video of it, but actually the archer here, he shoots the arrow, and the arrow goes across the sky. It was pretty cool. And there was a couple of more. These things rotate, they form in the sky and make whatever it is that they're doing. We got Vulcan in the mirror, and this is the World Games sign on the right. All right, so now we let the games begin. We have the mascots, Vulcan and Vesta, and in the middle is Miss Macy. All right. All right, we're going to run through the different sporting events. Archery. There's 3 different categories of archery, but archery is also an Olympic sport as well as a World Games sport. Some of these sports go back and forth between the Olympics and the World Games. But this was at Avondale Park. That was our venue, and we had I can't tell you how many athletes were there, but there was quite a bit, and this lasted almost the whole week for the archery. Billiards, for those of you who like pool, this was held at the Sheraton, and these are the top players in the world. This is the Olympics for billiards players, so this was a good event over there. Only thing is, you have to be quiet when you're in there, so they don't let you talk out loud too much. Right, Zach? Bowling. Bowling, we tried to get the bowling competition here in Trussville. Something didn't work out. So what they did is they put this in the North Pavilion the East Pavilion at the BJCC, and built the bowling alley. There's a company that comes in, and they actually build the alley for the competition. This lady here is USA. She was the gold medalist. And the gold medalist, I think, in the men's division was from Canada. I'm not sure. I can't remember all the details. Okay. Canoe marathon. This was held at Oak Mountain. And this is just, these people actually race each other. It's called canoe. It's mostly kayak. So, but this is a competition they had out there, and to put on something like this, it's more than just letting people get in a boat and go race. I tell you, a lot of this is more complicated than it looks. Okay, now this is one of the more exciting things. Can y'all see? Canoe polo. They're in kayaks. You have a paddle, and in the Olympics you see how they play water polo with the guys with the skull caps and they float around. This is like a shark fest. I mean, once that ball gets in there and they start colliding with those canoes, it's very exciting. The net is raised and the goalie has his paddle to defend. So it's a very exciting thing. This was held at Crossplex. Okay. Canopy piloting. This was an interesting phenomenon. These guys, I don't think I would do it. The helicopter takes them up to 4,000 to 5,000 feet. They jump out with their canopy, and then they spot their target. And this was held out at Barber's Motorsports area. They will spiral down, and I mean, they are hauling, you know what. Then they come into the course, and they have to get over the water. They have to touch the water with some part of their body, and then they have to lower themselves below these pylons in order to make the good run. And they time them from the time they get to the water to the time they get there, and it's usually they were all trying to break 3 seconds. That's how fast they're going. So these guys are coming in on the ground. I don't know how fast they're going, but it is. And there was a couple that didn't do too well, kind of missed their mark. But that was a very interesting sport. All right. Another sport they have is climbing, and they have speed climbing, they have boulder climbing, and then they have cliff climbing. So I think we got a video on the next slide if it will play. 7 seconds, 50 feet. It's 50 feet they climb. The girl on the left was the gold medalist, and she's USA. But, it's like, golly, it's like a bug going up a wall. And I mean, it's just amazing at the speed that they can go up. But that was a very interesting sport. All right. Then we have dance. They have different kinds of dance. Standard dance is they have rock and roll, Latin, and standard. And these are I was a part of the ceremonies and given the gifts to the medalist, and that's the ones right there in the middle. This was the Latin group. But it's very, very, these people are very, very good, and it's beautiful to watch. Dancing, break. We used to call it break dancing, but now it's known as dancing break. Now this was, when they first said, and this was at Sloss Furnace, they said that, we're going to have break dancing at Sloss Furnace. And I'm like, oh boy, that ought to attract a crowd. That was one of the most highly sought after events that people went to. It was so crowded, they had to take out the bleachers that they had set up just to get more people in there. And I think they ended up refunding about 300 tickets because there was just simply no more room in that venue. And it's new as a sport, but the next step will be dance breaking is going to the Olympics. Sorry. All right. Drone racing. This was a pretty interesting thing. We had this at Protective Stadium. And it basically, with the drones, they fly them. You have to do an obstacle course with the drones. In the daytime, it's kind of hard to follow. But at night, they leave the trail. So it's pretty cool. sometimes those drones collide in midair. So, you know, that was a pretty cool thing too. Okay.
Joe, do you know, are the drones all exactly alike, or they get to have souped up drones?
No, I think there's so like any sport, you kind of have to be because the skill is the operation. Yeah, I don't think you can have a super flyer and somebody have a double wing airplane or anything. Duathlon. This was held at the steam plant downtown and the roads in Birmingham. Duathlon is the triathlon without the swimming. That's all. That's the only difference. Fistball. This was an interesting sport. Fistball is a big court, and it's a cross between ping pong and volleyball. And these people don't play. When they hit it, it's with their fist, and that ball goes flying. And you know, in volleyball, how they go down and they dig it. Well, these players across the back, when they come in and they slam like that, you would be amazed at how you can adjust your body to make that ball pop up, and the ball will then bounce, and then you hit it. So it has to kind of bounce on your side. It was an interesting sport. We had this out at Birmingham Southern. Okay. Flag football with flag football. Pretty self-explanatory. This was at Legion Field. Okay. Floorball. This is an interesting sport. There's it's hockey, just in street shoes. As you see, they're plastic, and it's played with a waffle ball. This is a up and coming thing in Europe because pretty much anybody can play it. Okay. Flying disc. We had this at John Carroll High School. Flying disc is football with a disc, and some of the catches and stuff like that is just amazing what they can do, stretch out and get that frisbee. All right, this is gymnastics, rhythmic, and this is with ribbons and with a ball. So ladies, I want you to go home, get your ball, and we'll do some videos and then bring that back to us and share it with us and let us know what you've learned. These are athletes. And this is the acrobatic part of the gymnastics, where they do all these formations and everything. So these people are really athletes. Look at this girl up here. Wow. That just hurts looking at that. Okay. Handball, beach handball. This is a popular sport in Europe, and they play handball, and the way they score it, you can't be behind this line, but you can dive over that line, and they will dive over, flip in the air to fake the goalie off, and then throw the ball. That was a pretty popular sport. Okay. Inline hockey, it's hockey on roller skates, and it's just as furious as if they're ice skating. In fact, it seems more violent because of them rolling around on the floor, and when they hit that puck, the sound, it ain't like hitting it on ice. That sound reverberates, and it's like, wow. But this was held at Crossplex, and this was an interesting sport. Okay. All right, here's the fighting thing. This is jiu-jitsu. These people, to me, it was a little bit boring because they grab each other and they tussle around, and but if you watch closely the different moves that they make in order to do some of this stuff. Okay, karate. We all know what karate is, and that was held at Birmingham Southern at the Coliseum. That was a good sport. Okay. Kickboxing, same thing. I mean, people say, well, these World Game people, they're not really athletes. Look at this guy. I mean, these athletes for World Games they do just as much training, and they're in just as well as condition as those that are in the Olympics. And so they're tough, and this was a pretty interesting exhibition to see. Korfball. What is the korf? It's the yellow thing. It's a basket. It's kind of like basketball. The korf is, basketball goals are 10 foot high. The korf is 11 and a half foot high. It's intramural. You got 4 guys and 4 girls on a team, and they have different rules to where if somebody's right in your face, you can't shoot. So you can't dribble, you can't run with the ball, you can only pass, and you can only pivot on 1 foot when you got the ball. Now you can do fadeaways, but if somebody's in your face guarding you, you can't shoot. And that's kind of that's a tough little goal to ring. But those people, this originated in the Netherlands, and it's very popular there. And the gold medalist, of course, was the Dutch. Okay. Lacrosse, everybody knows what lacrosse, and this was held at UAB on their field out there. The gold medal round, it was packed. I mean, people were really coming out to see this, okay? Muay Thai. I wish we had a video so you could listen to the sound. In the middle, there's a band. It's got a little thump, thump, thump drum, and the whole time they're fighting, they're playing music. Muay Thai originated in Thailand, and when those fighters come into the ring, they go to each corner. It's a ceremony. It's very ceremonial. They wear these particular headbands, and they go to each corner, and after both fighters walk all 4 corners, then the ring is closed. Nobody can get in there. They will start the match, the band will play, and then they beat the living hell out of each other. I mean, you talk about a sport, and we all have seen the UCF and the MMA, the mixed martial arts. This is that, except they don't get on the ground. But, I mean, I saw a guy, the American guy, he came out there, and he was all waving to the crowd and everything. He gets away, he got knocked out. It's like, dude, I think you was a little bit too. Muay Thai, okay? Orienteering. This is a sport that's kind of interesting to me because you're given a set of instructions, and you have to follow those instructions to where you're going to get to the place in order to.
So was there a male division?
Yes.
Okay, just wondering.
Yeah, that's a guy over there. My wife probably couldn't make it on this one. But this is just, it's a sport, and I mean these people train for this, and they have to. It's not an easy thing to do because you have to both use your physical prowess and your mental prowess in order to, and you have to do it simultaneously as you're seeing. They're looking like, okay, I got to go up here, and they don't get these instructions until right before the gun goes off. Okay.
Where was that held?
At the Miller Steam Plant. I mean, downtown, I think. That was Oak Mountain. Okay, thank you, Zach. See, that's why I brought Zach. All right, parkour. Parkour is an up and coming sport. It's basically an obstacle course that you run on time. They have a different version to where you're graded on your artistic ability, and these people will flip off of these things in order to score points. But this was a crowded venue for this, and it's taken off in Europe, and I was told that as this becomes more popular, the athletes participating will become more and more involved, because these are people that it's basically kind of a hobby that these people were doing initially, but now it's progressing to become a really competitive sport. Okay. powerlifting. This was held at the BJCC, and believe it or not, it was pretty exciting to see these people try to lift, the tonnage that they're doing. The American girl, on her last lift, she was in second place. She did her lift. The guy scoring gave her the high sign, meaning that was a good lift. And so everybody was like, rah, 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 rah. And then the judges overruled and said it wasn't a good lift. So she only got the silver. But that was, powerlifting, you go, boring. No, it wasn't. It was pretty cool. Okay. Racquetball and squash. We built the squash court, particularly. It's kind of so that everybody can see. It's open. This was held at UAB for the racquetball tournament and the squash. I used to play racquetball years ago, and now I don't. There's a reason. Okay. Roller sports. There's 3 different divisions. This was at the steam plant area. This is at the BJCC, of course. You have the artistic version of skating. This is road skating, to where they have a road race. And then the speed skating is on the right there, where they go around the track. And of course, we had to build the track. So, but that was interesting to see some of those people, because they wipe out, and it's not pretty. So, okay. Softball. Okay. This was a big event. Why? In the Summer Olympics, the gold medal round had Japan versus the United States. Japan won 2-0. So this was the big rematch. This is at Hoover Met. That night, it was no room at the Hoover Met for anybody to sit. It was packed. This was what everybody had been waiting for. So the score was 0-0 about the 3rd or the 4th inning. 2 outs, bases loaded, and this young lady, Janae Jefferson, came to bat. She hit a double, cleared the bases, 3-0. And then the Japanese came back and got a run, and a little while later they got another run, but the USA held them off and won the game 3-2. So that was very exciting. The USA, the gold medalists, and that was a fun night at the Hoover Met. Sumo wrestling. Now, this gal is the gold medalist. And the object is, there's a ring. You see that little ring there. And the object is, once you get on all fours, then the referee will say go. And your job is to get that other person out of the ring or on the ground. And these big buffaloes over there, that was pretty intense. And this gal, every time the ref would go boom, she would bull rush them, and there was really not a whole lot that they could do. And she's from Ukraine. Yeah. Okay. Swimming sports. On the left is fin swimming. They have a distance that they do, Jimmy. And do you have fins? But if you'll see, it's one big fin that they wear. And the first category is 50 meters, and it's all underwater. So they dive in and they swim the length of the pool. Later on, if it's a distance, then they have snorkels, but with the fins. There was one guy, I forget where he was from, Zach, that didn't have his fin, never made it. So he borrowed somebody else's fin, and in that event, he placed second. There was some volunteers that worked at World Games who heard about this dilemma. The fin was in Atlanta. The volunteers jumped in their car, drove to Atlanta, got his fin, got it back, and in the next race, he won a gold medal. But that was just our volunteers doing something good for for these athletes at World Games. On the right, it's called life saving. You swim the length of the pool, you go get the dummy, and you secure him, and then you have to swim back. And that, it looks like a little float there, but those things are heavy. It's like having a human, and you have to swim pulling that, and that's the race. And they are, it's not an easy thing to do, lugging that thing down, but they go pretty fast considering. Okay. Tug of war. This is tug of war has been around for centuries. That was an old sport in the Greek era, and this was over at UAB Field, and it was, I think the heat index that day was about 105. And these people got out there. Now this is outdoor. They have two different kinds. You have indoor and outdoor. When I was in Poland in 2017, they had indoor, but this is outdoor. And if you are a CEO and want to teach your team how to work together, go ahead. Go ahead, and it's a video. Watch how they work together. On the right is the Chinese Taipei.
Good group.
And then once you get this little thing here past the line, then you win that match. But those people, you see how they work in unison, that every step's the same at the same time, and in a lunge and in a pull. It's pretty impressive to me that you get, that type of coordination on an event like that. Okay. Wakeboarding, water skiing. We have the skiers on the left, the jump competition, and the wakeboard on the right. This was at Oak Mountain, and this was a pretty well attended event too, because there's a lot of people that do boating, and if they put me in there, they would have to show an event with me being pulled on an inner tube. So, okay. Wheelchair rugby. It sounds weird, and I wish I had the video so you can listen to it, but these people are competitive. I promise you. And on the video, you can hear those chairs, and they will just run into each other, and you hear clank. You would see them bounce, those people bounce, and every one of them, at the end of the day, they can't get out of their chair and go home because they're all paraplegics. But they are so competitive, and I was told that one of the teams asked that their wheelchairs be locked up at night because the other teams would go around and sabotage their chairs. so it's competitive, but it's also a good thing that people, even though with their disability, they are able to get out and compete just like any other competitor that you've seen here. So, okay. And I can't say enough about all of our volunteers. We had over 3,300 volunteers from all over the county and a lot of other counties, and I just can't give them enough praise for what they did, because they were the face of Birmingham and Jefferson County and Alabama to all these athletes. And I think is that the second one? Yeah. And there, I don't even have enough room to show them all. But our volunteers, they were into it. They were energetic. They were there on their own time. They didn't ask anything. They always had a smile on their face. And it was just wonderful to see all these people coming out in the heat, in the, to be able to be, and they were all so proud to be a part of something like this. So So that was a good thing. Okay. We talk about the Ukrainians just a minute. As you know, we banned the Russians and the Belarus from coming to the games. The Ukrainians. This young lady is the gold medalist. He was a silver medalist in Muay Thai. And the Ukrainians, 4 or 5 of the Ukrainians, before they came here, 2 weeks earlier, they had been on the front lines fighting in the war. After the games, within a week of getting home, they will be back on the lines. The champion, karate champion from Ukraine, was killed in March, so he wasn't there. But, you know, when these, in opening ceremonies, when the Ukraine team came out, that's the whole stands stood up and erupted and gave them a standing ovation. That was pretty touching. So that, and they did well. They did well. And man, you talk to them, they were focused because they were fighting not only for themselves but for their country. And I think that all the angst that they had built up because of what happened to their country, that just came out. This guy was walking out. He was a silver medalist, and he came walking by me, and I gave him, you know, as he walked by, I put up my fist. He like to broke my hand, just giving me a bump. Oh, dang. But it was very touching for them. We did an allocation of $54,000 to the Ukraine team for their sports program, and that was a good thing too. But they were there, they were focused, and they did well. Closing ceremony at the end. The tradition is the host city passes the flag to the president of the International World Games Association, Jose Perurena. He waves the flag to close the ceremony, and then he hands it off to the next delegation who will be hosting the next games, which will be Chengdu, China. Okay. And then after that, there was a concert by Lionel Richie. There was a little bit of a glitch. After the closing ceremonies, there was about a 45-minute delay before Lionel came out. He came out, sang 3 songs, and we paid him $1 million. Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't part of the. I was focused on the games. That was my part. I wasn't. Yeah, I agree, but it is what it is. And so that will pretty much, okay, go one. That was, you know, that was the World Games 2022 at the drones. And, you know, sometimes I just like my job being at the ceremonies for the dancers. I just happen to take a shot and it's just right there. But that's the end of my program, and I appreciate y'all letting me share that with you.